Hey guys, I am down here at the Fort Worth job. I did an October update. We are now almost middle of November 2024. House is coming along nicely. And one thing about when you're building a home, anybody out there that is a builder or has had a home built, you'll know from some of my early videos on this house, the big things move fast. You know, you pour all the foundations in a day and then the framing a month or so, and you're finished with most of that. Then it starts to feel like it slows down because now we're into the items that take longer to do. So there are a few things happening with this home right now I'm going to do a little walkthrough on. We are in what we call the mechanical phase. So the roof has not been put on, but it's been dried in. This is getting a standing seam metal roof. And so with a standing seam roof, we first put a membrane on the roof so it is dried in and we can work on the inside. All doors and windows are in, other than this big front door, which is a big iron door. I think it comes in next month and they'll set that. So I'm gonna walk out here, try to avoid the mud. Rained a little while ago. Gonna go right into the sun. That's gonna be brutal. But if you can see behind me, we've got some membrane on top of the roof so that water can't get through it. We have primered the spray primered the overhangs. Homeowners are making their selections on the exterior colors now. So you've probably seen these at houses, but we've done a facade mock-up here behind me, just waiting for the metal roof guys to come out so they can select their color, and then we will paint all the trim on this house, all the overhang trim, before we put on that metal roof. That way we don't have an expensive metal roof on there that we are spraying paint against. Never good. That metal that you see on the side is called lath. Those are the areas of the home that are getting stucco. So we have brick ledges. Stone is going to go on these areas, but then these areas get stucco, so they put a metal lath on the house, and then stucco gets coated to that. So this home now is in the mechanical phase. Mechanicals are HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing, what we call plumbing top-out phase. So this would be when all the water lines are run, the drains are brought up, everything is roughed and ready to go for when we put the drywall in the house and cabinets. We also do what we call our low voltage audio, video, cameras, and in the case of this house, automation. So this house is getting an automation system called Control 4. This is a very expansive automation system that can do all kinds of things. In this house, it's going to control certain aspects of the house. The homeowner wanted to reduce the number of switch boxes. So one thing about these big custom homes, the bigger they are, the more lights they have in them, right? So you will often have multiple switches on a wall, sometimes what we call 3- and 4-way switches, where a set of, let's say, recessed can lights are able to be switched from, hey, you know, I'm in the kitchen, you're gonna come in from there, you're gonna come in from there, maybe over here. So you end up with switches everywhere. The automation can reduce those and also give you, you know, ways of running things with settings, remotes, all kinds of things. So now that all the mechanicals have been run in the house, we will get it cleaned up, and there's one thing we have to do before we get an inspection on the house. And that is to have the insulators come in and run their poly seal everywhere. What is poly seal? It is a type of low expanding foam that is used to seal all the exterior wall bottom plates, top plates where we've made penetrations through them. So all this builder speak means what, Steve? Well, let me flip the camera around here. A bottom plate is just the bottom horizontal board that sits on the foundation. So what happens, as I said, this is not cleaned up yet, but crews will come through, clean up all the sawdust, and the poly seal or the insulators come through and they spray a foam, a low expanding foam, along the bottom of all the plates. That prevents air from being able to get under the plates. I shot a previous video where I showed that we actually have something called a sill seal underneath there. It is a foam gasket piece. Well, here's a piece right here to show you. So all these bottom plates of this home are sitting on a sill seal, which is a gasket that helps prevent air from transferring, but we still go and add all of the polyseal to it. What we also do now is the polyseal will seal up openings in things like outlet boxes and switch boxes, as well as we're going to look up at the top plate. So the board on the top that runs horizontally, we call the top plate, where the stops and turns into the ceiling. You see the wires, there's a hole drilled so the wire can go up into the attic. Those get filled with polyseal. And the whole point of all this is to prevent air transfer. Now you'll see Pella Windows installed these, they already put a foam around the windows themselves. So depending on the situation, if this hadn't been done by a window installer, then the insulator would do that. So let's turn the camera back around. So one of the biggest things we're trying to do these days with modern homes is prevent air transfer. So we all know the term drafty houses, right? Old houses did not have great insulation. They certainly did not have great air sealing. I remember being in homes when I was a kid. You could put your hand down by an outlet and feel air blowing through it, especially in the winter when it was cold. You could feel cold air blowing through it. Why was that happening? Well, it's because air was probably going under the plate, coming through other places of the wall, and was able to, if your house had some negative pressure, meaning for some reason the pressure were lower in the house than outside, that causes air to get pulled in. And so that's why you could feel the draft around the outlets, around windows. Nothing was sealed very well. We are at the point now that homes have become very tight with the way we insulate, the way we seal them. I personally use spray foam insulation. I've done other videos on this, but it is an encapsulated house, which just means that the spray foam, open cell spray foam, is sprayed in the wall, and when we get to the roof line up there, it's sprayed under the roof line, and that encapsulates or insulates the entire house structure. Other than things like patios and stuff, we'll have walls built so that we can insulate those and separate the patios and not have to include them in the space. What foam does, open cell foam is permeable, meaning air does move through it slightly, but nothing like a fiberglass bat or something of that nature. So it is air sealing a home a lot tighter than conventional insulations. There's nothing wrong with conventional insulations. They insulate well, they just don't air seal well, which is why we are using foam these days and have been for quite a few years. So with that said, once the insulators have polysealed this house, then we can get our seconds inspection or frame inspection, which is just a term for an inspector comes in and is going to inspect the framing, inspect all the mechanicals, and we have to get all that done before we can insulate. Then we get an insulation inspection, then we can start putting up drywall. So this home is very close to us being able to insulate it and put up drywall. Let me show behind me here. Let's see if we can see this. We've got our plumbing in. This is a little example. This is actually a wet bar area just outside of the living room, and just showing you the plumbing has been put in. The insulated pipe is the hot water pipe. The blue pipe is the cold water pipe. That is PEX piping, which is a plasticky polyethylene type of material that has been great. It has been used for a lot of years now in Texas, and we have no problems with PEX piping. It also is able to expand and contract a little bit, so it is, you know, great during the freezes that we have here. So we've got our setup for the drain. We've got wiring here. And we have HVAC, let's see. Let's look up in an attic here somewhere. We can see HVAC up there. So when I talk about plumbing top out, I'm standing in a primary bath shower right now. Right behind me here are all the valves. So these will be the controls for the shower heads. This one's going to have a rain head, a hand shower. And so we've got everything right here. This one is getting a linear drain. If you've seen those long, skinny drains, it's going to go against one side of the shower pan. And so, yeah, this is all of the plumbing done in kind of the rough end stage. It's all ready to go for when the drywall is put on to come back and put all the plumbing fixtures on here. Behind me, we have the breaker panels. So let me step over some pipes here. As you can see, let's turn the camera around. We've got a couple big breaker panels there, smaller panel, sub panels there. This house will be getting a standby generator. We also have customer plumbing shutoffs here. And so, you know, in the old days, you had a shutoff to your house somewhere out in the front of the house. Now we have them in the garage. This will get a box cover over it. They can open it up. And if they ever need to turn off plumbing inside the house, they have the ability to do it. And lastly, I didn't mention this, but this is a loop for any type of water filtration. This house is getting its water supply from a water well, directly from a water well. And there are some advantages to that with no water bill and things like that. Some of the disadvantages can be it's not filtered, your water quality cannot be as good as it might be from the city, which is treated. So in that case, we run loops so they can run filtrations, softeners, things like that. Interesting feature in this house, which is our pull down stairs. It is a 1-story. And so what we've got here are some scissor type pull down stairs. So let's get a look at these things from the side. Pretty unique. They're very sturdy. And then, hey, what is that second box? That is going to be an attic lift. We did one in another house I did a video on. So in this way, he can walk up his stairs, use an attic lift that can handle 300 pounds and, pull things up. And then this house has a massive amount of decking above it. I'll show that in just a second. So I'm in the attic of this house right now, and it's really interesting. We have floored a massive amount of space over this attic. I'm going to show you. This is over the garage. So what we've done is come in and put a bunch of flooring for storage up here. We will be having a tankless water heater up here. That is the back of the house, and then we have a guest house behind it. This house has a 14-foot ceiling over the living room, so we had to create some stairs. It's going to be kind of dark up here. We'll see if the camera adjusts enough. So it is a little dark, but we are over the living room. So this thing has a massive amount of storage space. We have a couple of the air handlers up here that are easy to access. We have all of the automation panel here behind me. I'm sure this light is doing some funky things to the camera, but the automation's up here. Again, this is going to be encapsulated. So when I talk about foam encapsulation, behind me can kind of show a good example of there is our vertical wall, which will have spray foam sprayed to it. Then when it hits the roof line, the entire roof line up here will be spray foamed. And so this attic, and I've shot some other videos, this attic will remain very warm in the winter, cool in the summer. We do have the HVAC systems put conditioned air into the attic, which helps control the temperature and humidity.